We're going to start right here where Caitlin Clark was talking about how she disagreed with what went down with her minutes last night, all right? And honestly, she already told the Indiana Fever organization that it's stupid, man. It is stupid to put her on restricted minutes, all right? She don't like those games. She can never get it going. She don't care to do them. If she's not...
Just 16 minutes on the floor. That's all we got from Caitlin Clark in a game that left Fever fans shaking their heads in disbelief. No injury, no setback, just a coaching decision to cap her minutes. Something she'd already made crystal clear she couldn't stand. And here's the thing. This wasn't the first time she said it. Rewind to June 14th last year. Clark was coming back from a quad injury after missing 5 straight games, and she didn't hold back. She called the whole restricted minutes idea silly. Told everyone straight up she wasn't interested in playing on a leash. Her words? She wasn't out there for 20 minutes. She was out there to win. Full stop. Giving everything she had. So this wasn't some mystery. The Fever front office knew exactly how she felt about it. They heard her loud and clear a year ago, and they did it anyway.
Okay, she ended up making this article, and right here at the beginning, she was talking about how Caitlin Clark, back in 2025, said she don't like these restricted minutes, man. She don't like these type of games. So let's start right here. Usually, Caitlin Clark isn't a fan of minutes restrictions, right? The Indiana Fever guard declared them silly in her return from a 5-game layoff because of a quad injury on June 14, 2025, saying, I told them, I don't want to come back.
Look at her face. Look at how she's carrying herself out there. That's not a player who's happy to be managed. That's raw frustration. That's a competitor who knows her team needs her, watching from the bench when she should be on the court. And it gets weirder. The night before this game, Clark sat down for an interview and said she figured she'd get around 20 minutes against the Sparks. 20 minutes. The coaching staff didn't even give her that much. She got 16. And it wasn't even a clean 16. It was chopped up into these strange little bursts. 3 minutes in, then 4 or 5 minutes glued to the bench, back out for another quick stretch, then pulled again. Think about that for a second. How is anyone supposed to find rhythm playing like that? You can't settle into the game. You can't build any momentum. And if you can't do that, you sure can't help your team win.
You know, if you were going to allow her to play only 16 minutes, just sit her out. Like, what are we doing, man? Now, if we skip down, okay? We skip down a little bit. Where is it? Right here. Clark could never truly get into a rhythm because of those seemingly constant subs. She made sure her body stayed warm the entire time, using the exercise bike in her periods off the court and wearing a heat therapy pad on her back. But with the amount of time she spent off the court, she couldn't ever get a true feel on.
Here's where this whole plan falls apart. Look at what happened to Kelsey Mitchell in that very same game. First half, she was rough. 17 minutes, 3 of 10 from the field, 1 of 4 from deep. Nowhere close to her usual self. But the coaches didn't yank her. They let her play through the slump. They trusted her to find her groove. And she did. By the final buzzer, Mitchell had logged 33 minutes and dropped 29 points. 9 of 18 shooting, 5 of 9 from 3, perfect from the free throw line. Those step-back threes in the second half. Automatic. Pure confidence. Built because she was given the freedom to work through a bad start and come out the other side. That's the whole point. That's what happens when you trust your best players to just play. They figure it out.
On fire. But look what happened, man. Look at what happened, right? Let's look at Kelsey Mitchell. She finished with 33 minutes, which that's a solid spot. That's a solid spot for a player to play. 29 points, 9 for 18, 5 for 9 from the 3, 100% from the free throw line. That's why it's important to allow these players to play, man. Get a feel for the game. This is what Caitlin Clark is talking about. You might start off slow, but then as the second half come in, you get a good feel. Now you're ready to drop bombs, which Kelsey Mitchell was doing. The step back, wing shots from the 3, she was knocking them down. I don't even know why we ran away from that, honestly.
Caitlin never got that chance. And after the final whistle, she made sure everyone understood exactly how she felt. Reporter Chloe Peterson caught her comments, and honestly, they didn't leave much to guess. Clark put it plainly. Playing 3 minutes, sitting, playing 3 more, sitting again. There's no way to build any kind of flow doing that. She said most of her shots were good looks, some fell, some didn't, but she just never got a real feel for the game. Playing in bursts like that, she said, is genuinely hard. Read between the lines there. She's not calling anyone out by name, but she's making it obvious this wasn't her call, and she wasn't on board with it. It's the polite, professional way of saying this whole plan didn't make sense, and everyone watching knew exactly what she meant. You could feel that tension sitting on the sideline the whole game.
But this one I saw on the internet. There's 2 moments where Caitlyn was trying to get in, and Stephanie White was saying, no, 2 minutes, they'll sit back down or whatnot, right? So she got the thumbs up from somebody, right? Y'all saw that. She put a thumbs up. She put a thumb up, now she's coming over. But then you're going to see Stephanie White say, no, we're doing 2 minutes. Watch. 2 minutes. Now,
2 fingers. That's all it took to crush a competitor's spirit on national television. Caitlin Clark thought she was checking back into the game. She stood up, started walking toward the scorer's table, ready to go. Then her head coach stopped her cold and held up 2 fingers. 2 more minutes on the bench. Clark laughed it off for the cameras, but anyone watching closely could see it wasn't a happy laugh. It was the laugh of someone swallowing frustration in real time. She sat back down. That single moment tells you everything you need to know about what happened in this game. Let's rewind. Caitlin Clark played just 16 minutes total in a game that turned into one of the ugliest losses of the Fever season. Not because she was hurt, not because her body couldn't handle it, but because the coaching staff had already decided, before the game even started, that she'd be capped on a restricted minutes plan. And here's the part that makes this so hard to swallow. She'd already told them, months earlier, exactly how she felt about this. Go back to June of last year. Clark was returning from a quad injury after missing 5 games, and she didn't dance around her feelings. She flat out said restricted minutes were pointless. She said she wasn't coming back unless she could go full speed. Her exact stance was that she wasn't stepping on the floor to play 20 minutes. She was there to win and to give everything she had. So this wasn't a secret. The organization knew, word for word, how she felt about being managed like this. And they did it anyway. Now here's where it gets even stranger. The night before this game, Clark sat down for an interview and said she expected to play somewhere around 20 minutes against the Sparks. 20. The coaching staff didn't even give her that much. She got 16, and not 16 in one clean stretch. It was chopped into bizarre little bursts. 3 minutes on the floor, 4 to 6 minutes glued to the bench, back out for another short shift, then pulled again. Try building any rhythm like that. You can't. You can't settle into the flow of a game. You can't read what the defense is doing, and you definitely can't find your shot when you're constantly starting and stopping. Now compare that to what happened with her own teammate in that same game. Kelsey Mitchell had an awful first half. 17 minutes, 3 makes out of 10 shots, 1 for 4 from 3-point range. She looked completely out of sync, but the coaching staff didn't touch her rotation. They let her play through it. They trusted her to figure it out on her own terms. And she did. By the final buzzer, Mitchell had played 33 minutes and dropped 29 points, shooting 9 for 18 from the field and knocking down 5 threes with total confidence. She was the one bright spot in an otherwise miserable night, and it happened because she was given the freedom to work through a slow start. Clark never got that same trust. And after the game, she made her feelings known without ever throwing anyone under the bus directly. She explained that playing 3 minutes, then sitting, then coming back for 3 more, made it nearly impossible to find any flow. She said most of her looks were good ones, some fell and some didn't, but she never really got a feel for the game because of how the minutes were split up. Reading between the lines, that's about as clear a message as you can send without naming names. This wasn't her decision, and she didn't agree with it one bit. You could feel that tension on the sideline all night. There was another moment where Clark was standing near the bench, clearly ready to check back in, only for her coach to say something that made her immediately turn around and walk back to her seat. These aren't the reactions of a player who's on board with being protected. These are the reactions of someone who feels completely fine, who's watching her team get dismantled, and who can't understand why she's stuck watching from the sideline. She even stayed on a stationary bike during her bench time and wore a heat pad on her back just to stay ready, doing everything possible in case her number got called. And the game itself. This wasn't some tight, competitive battle where you could argue the restriction didn't really matter. This was a full collapse from start to finish. The defense had holes everywhere, players getting blown by in the paint, defenders getting worked in the post, transition defense that basically didn't exist. The shooting was cold across the board. There was one sequence that summed up the entire disaster. A clean 3-on-2 fast break, the numbers completely in their favor, a wide-open look at the top of the key, and it rimmed out. The offensive rebound came right back up. Rimmed out again. It looked like there was a force field around the basket. Later in the game, they had a 4-on-3 advantage and still couldn't generate anything better than a contested, forced jumper that clanged off. The effort just wasn't there. The urgency wasn't there. And the team's best player was sitting for 36 total minutes of that exact game. There was even a moment where the ball got tipped away on a lazy backdoor pass, and the turnover somehow got charged to Clark on the stat sheet instead of the teammate who threw it. So really, she had 3 turnovers that night, not 4. A small detail, but one more example of how little was going right. Step back and look at the bigger picture here, because this isn't just about one bad night. This fits into a pattern we've seen ever since Clark entered the league. This constant back and forth between protecting her and letting her be the competitor she clearly is. And every single time, she's made it obvious which one she wants. She wants to play. She wants to compete. She wants to win. When she came back from that quad injury, she didn't just say she disliked limited minutes. She said she told the staff directly that she wasn't returning unless she could go full speed. That's not a hint. That's not a suggestion. That's a direct message about how she wants to be coached. So ask yourself this. If she said all of this a year ago, and if she told everyone the night before that she expected to play around 20 minutes, why did the staff go a completely different direction without warning her? Either they don't trust her read on her own body, or there's some long-term health concern being prioritized over this particular game. And if it's the second one, fine, but then be upfront about it. Don't suit her up and play her in 3-minute increments. That's the worst possible middle ground. She can't help her team when playing like that, and she doesn't get real rest either, because she's staying warmed up and ready the entire game just in case. The chemistry problems were obvious too. There were multiple possessions where Clark tried to run a set and her teammates simply weren't on the same page. A missed screen call here, a backdoor cut nobody expected there, turnovers piling up because timing breaks down when your primary ball handler never gets extended run to build rhythm with her teammates. What frustrated people the most wasn't just the final score. It was how the loss unfolded. The team looked like it had given up before halftime. No adjustments, no fire, no urgency. If you're getting torched in the paint over and over, try something different. If your star player looks completely ready to go, maybe believe her when she says she feels good. But the coaching staff stayed locked into a predetermined plan no matter what was happening on the court. That's not smart coaching. That's stubbornness. Think about this from her side for a second. You're one of the best players on the planet. You've worked your whole life to get here. You know your own body better than anyone standing on that sideline. You've said clearly, more than once, that you don't want to be managed. And then you're forced to watch your team get blown out from the bench with zero ability to change it. For someone with her competitive fire, that's about as frustrating as it gets. You could see it in her face, the forced smile after the 2-finger signal, the quiet walk back to the bench when told to sit again. Small moments. But they say a lot about where things stand between a star player and her coaching staff. And here's the detail that really seals it. After the game, Clark said her body felt great. Not the performance, not the result, just that physically, she felt good. So if she felt great before the game, during the game, and after the game, what exactly was this plan protecting her from? This wasn't a player managing pain or working through discomfort. This was a completely healthy competitor being held back for reasons that don't line up with anything she said herself. Maybe the coaching staff has medical information the rest of us don't see. That's possible. But if that's true, then somebody dropped the ball on communication, because Clark walked into that game expecting 20 minutes, not 16 chopped into pieces. And the fact that she looked genuinely surprised by how limited she was tells you this wasn't a decision she was fully part of. So where does this go from here? If Clark is healthy enough to play, she needs real minutes, not token appearances, not 3-minute cameos. If there's a real reason she can't do that, then shut her down completely and let her rest. This in-between approach doesn't work for anyone. It doesn't protect her health, since she's still suiting up and staying warm the whole game. It doesn't help the team win, since she never gets to find her rhythm. And it clearly frustrates the one person this is supposed to be helping. The best coaches in this sport have always trusted their stars to know their own bodies. That trust has to go both ways, and right now, There's a clear gap between what Clark wants and what she's being given. So here's the real question. Is this a one-time mistake or the start of a bigger problem? Will the coaching staff actually listen and adjust? Or will this keep happening despite everything she's already said? Because stars remember how they're treated. They remember when their voice gets ignored. What do you think should happen next game? Full trust, full minutes? Or is there something here we're not seeing? Drop your take in the comments. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next breakdown, and stick around, because this story is far from over.